Are going to be down, this is going to be down. I just think it's prudent to have a plan B, have an alternative, and make the school aware of this. I don't want to just wait till the last minute and say, oh, by the way, Superintendent Miller, you and the school committee, you're on your own for plowing. Well, how come you didn't? Well, you know, things happen. I want to talk to them before it happens, just to be ready.
I just want to follow up with what you were talking about. I mean, the school pays the town back $25,000. It does not go into the snow and ice account.
Right.
It goes into the general fund. So we invoice them twice during the season, beginning and somewhere near the end, but it does go back there.
Yes.
I think another factor that you have to consider, Bud, is that you have a lot of contractors who help in addition to your staff to do the whole town, correct?
No, we have no hired contractors. We bring in other employees from within the town to run our own equipment. So we have some part-timers, typically some retirees from town.
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Right.
All right, we have part-timers that come in and help us. Historically, we've been plowing with 13 men strong, 13 vehicles, 12 to 13. That's what it takes to plow our town efficiently, and that's about plowing operation is about a 4-hour plowing operation. That's around. So if it's a long-term storm, then it just multiplies. But you know, I'm not opposed to this. I'm not saying one way or the other. Whatever the board decides, I'm just wanted to try to state.
As I said though, this is not a, you know.
It's good to have
no,
options.
we're not going to do it.
It's good
this
to have
is
options.
The plan.
We don't know what's going to happen.
Plan for it, to let them know, hey, I don't know if anybody's thought of this, but in case you have not considered it, you should. And make, you know, try to make some, you know, make arrangements, make a plan. Like I said, first, you know, contact Templeton, see if they could come and help out. They're part of the school district. Maybe a shorthanded Templeton and Phillipston could do it, and we could keep the towns going in. But I don't want the snow to be flying, and that's when we tell them, oh, by the way, you know, we ain't gonna fly the school out. Maybe the next week, I don't know. You know, we don't know when we can get to it. Because we only got 4 guys on the highway department working. Because we had to cut the budget 20%, okay? So I'd rather tell them as soon as possible, just think about it. I mean, when we communicate it to them, they can do whatever they want. They can do nothing, they can look at it, they can talk, they can throw it in the wastebasket. I just want us to do our part, to talk to them, to give them a heads up. You know, I hope you've thought of this. Because for this year, it's a possibility.
I just wanted to share my information with the board. I'm not asking you to go one way or another. It makes no difference to me.
So, is anybody opposed to, I mean, if this is just to send a letter for them to be aware that depending on how the budget thing works out in the next month or two, when we have a special town meeting and override, you know, however this goes, is something that you should think about, plan on, and if you know, if you want to talk to the board of selectmen, no problem, but I think you should be, send them a letter, and you know, school committee, school district, this is the reality of possibilities. They can prepare for it. Yes, sir.
And I'm not saying that this is coming from any kind of vindictive place on the board. I know that was on the agenda beforehand.
Excuse me.
But I would just be concerned that it gives the appearance to maybe some less informed individuals, but it gives the appearance that we've never really kind of voted to send a letter to cut the snow budget, and now the vote didn't go the way that the advisory board and the majority of the board of selectmen maybe was hoping it would go, and now we're gonna, 48 business hours later, send them a letter that says, consider your options for plowing your own. I think that once we know what happens, that we have to have cuts, or that then it is appropriate. I'm sure they're aware. I see the chairwoman right here, so I mean, I don't know as if we need to, I'm sure she's been paying attention and has heard our discussion, to take the step of writing a letter to send them. I think it looks a little...
My opinion on a letter is, it's in writing, and again, it's, you know, phone call is, there's no misunderstanding, or all board members weren't aware of that, the committee is just, I just think it's the way to do business. Put the thing in
I agree
writing,
with you.
and it's just, you know, hey, you know, we gotta think about this. You know, we don't wanna wait until the last
There
minute.
should be no.
Yes, Lou?
You know, and I don't think that it's, that we're trying to
Excuse me,
say,
please.
or, you know, certainly I don't believe that we're trying to say that we don't want to do it. I think what we're trying to raise the awareness is, as Bud just said, that it takes 12 guys 4 hours to do the town. If Bud gets cut down to 6 hours, or 6 men, now that's 8 hours to plow the town.
That's one round.
Can the school wait? Yeah.
That's just one round.
Right, can the school wait an 8 hours to get their parking lot plowed? So, I mean, I think we're just trying, that all we're looking at is to just bring to the surface that, you know, hey, we may have an issue here. I don't think we're trying to say that we don't want to do it.
Well, we're not, I would just retort if I may, that we're not sending letters to any other departments telling them to prepare for cuts. So, but that's just that's my concern, the appearance of vindictiveness.
Chief?
That's exactly what Ken repeated. We need a plan. We don't have a plan. We don't know what the cuts are gonna be. When is that gonna come forward? We need some direction, some leadership. We shouldn't be sending letters out until we know what's gonna happen. We need to know that.
You don't know it, but if you don't plan on it possibly happen, what are you gonna do?
This
Wait
has
till
been
the last
coming for
minute?
6 months. We should have had a tentative plan in place. We haven't, and we need to get together, not in the next few months, in the next 30 days, and come together with a real comprehensive plan to handle this problem.
It's 35 days from, would be tonight, is the soonest you could have a special, a ballot, and
That's what
we
we should be
need
talking
an
about.
official number from the school committee now.
Now, I have 25 employees that I'm gonna meet with Wednesday morning. They wanna know what's going on, and I don't have answers for them.
Well, unfortunately, you know, do you know if we're gonna pass an override?
I don't,
Do you
but I
know,
don't know what we're going to do.
do you know if we are going to do budget cuts? You don't know?
No, I don't.
Okay.
That's what he's
Do we
telling
know
you. He
that?
wants to know. You should.
How do we know if we're gonna do budget cuts? We
We should
haven't
be
had a
talking
meeting,
about
we
that.
haven't had the people vote on it yet, Bob.
It should be
Just have a
discussed
just-in-case plan.
before you talk about
That's
snow
what he's
plowing.
telling you, Zach, just.
We're meeting Wednesday.
You're meeting Wednesday?
To certify the budget,
Budget.
yes.
So-
Wednesday of this week.
Okay, so Thursday, I mean, we might not have the official letter, but we will know that your
Yes, you will.
vote
You could-
is
you know.
official.
Yes, bring it to you.
And then we can, do our, because we really couldn't set a meeting until, everybody knows the number that was voted on,
Right.
but we need to have it official
Yes.
to do this.
We'll make sure you get that right away Thursday morning,
And I know you're here, Ray Ann, and you're here, obviously,
Debbie.
but I just wanted that, you know, to be a possibility, because with the history of how things have gone, an override is certainly the first way to try for it. But if it doesn't, it's, good, you know, then it's budget cuts. And again, I'm not saying yes or no, but, you know, if it's at half, then it doubles the time you're gonna get to you, how often they can get to it. It could be a mess over there, you know, just never, I just thought it was best to plan for it, like plan for the worst, and, you know, or expect the best, plan, you know, however that saying goes. But I just thought it was time that we talked and put this forward, that it's a possibility. Again, I'm just saying, let the school committee and the district know, just in case we've been all focused on budget, hey, there's these little things that might come up that, you know, maybe nobody's aware of or hasn't even thought of yet. So,
Thank you.
I just thought it was, you know, talk and, you know, work on something. Like I said, maybe the two towns could get together and do, if, maybe they'll try to pass and it'll be a miracle and everything will be fine. Yeah, okay.
It will.
So, but no, it's just,
Templeton can't survive without it.
But-
We need to.
I just thought that it was a thing to do. And perhaps, you know, Rayanne,
First time they had.
if, you know, maybe we could meet like informally just to talk these things over. I mean,
Because this was.
just a plan.
This, when the town does its plan, its budget cut, this will only be one of the things that
Right,
affects the
yes.
town. As Whitaker said, many things are going to affect the way the schools run if the town is cut.
So, yeah, it's just, there's a,
Yeah.
the rain, the waterfall effect is just gonna run down.
Certainly.
And it'd be nice if we could know which way it was gonna go, but unfortunately we don't. Yes, sir.
When is the town gonna formulate a plan to get out of our financial problem?
When you get your tax bill.
Mr. Chairman, if
Yes.
I might, just so everybody is aware, before that meeting even took place last Thursday, the advisory board has actually talked about this particular issue. We'll be talking about it more in depth the next Wednesday. They can end up seeing what our options are. Because we actually looked ahead and said, what happens if it does pass? We didn't say it was going to or not going to. We had our position, but we also ended up saying, what will happen if it does pass? And the earliest we could project, as you indicated, would be at the end of September to end up actually addressing this. We actually projected out what our budgets would be and what the impact would be. We didn't go any further because we didn't know the number. Until we actually know the number, we can't end up making any recommendations to any board on what we think is the right course of action. We are looking at budget cuts, as the chair already said. We're also looking at an override, and we're not talking about an override just for the amount that the school ended up having. Where the actual advisory board is actually looking on, if we're going to end up having an override, and we're put in that position, we should be looking at reinstating hours for the employees that have been lost, money within the stabilization fund, and getting raises for the town employees.
Okay.
That has to happen.
Okay. So, that's that.
You have people wanting to speak.
So, do you have a question?
No, I was gonna follow up with Will's, and based on what a dollar will raise, I just want everybody to talk, and when we're talking the override, and everybody's saying override, and I can look around this room and I can pick out a few people who walked in my office bitching about their tax bill. So I'm hoping people will, but we're talking about adding $2 to the tax rate. That's where our override would have to go, that's where our tax rate would have to go in order to fix the mess of the town.
A
$1 currently, now I don't have my final figures because of the values, so this will go down a little bit. Currently, the dollar raises $541,868. That is gonna go down a little bit, okay? So just to raise the, what was it, 551?
Yeah.
Okay, just to raise the 551, you're talking over $1 on the tax rate. To go back so that everybody can get, and I wanna call, like to just call in mind the people who got cut were the lowest paid people in the whole damn town. Yeah, to bring us back up to our 5 hours, we have not had step raises since 2009. Okay, 10 years and I'm still a step 1. That's disgusting. And I have a degree. And I'm certified. But you know what I'm saying, we would really need, you're talking over $1 million. I'm sorry, and I know, I believe that the school will help us out with this, but I think we've got some people out there that are just, we have a lot of empty homes, we have a lot of people struggling.
Well, on that $1 million, yes.
I was just wondering, is there any reason why you can't choose a town meeting date tonight? I mean, why do you have to wait until Wednesday?
You know
when
you're
you know it's
gonna
gonna
have
happen.
It's gonna come.
You know it's gonna happen. Huh?
Open meeting law.
Yeah, but you have to have so many days before, because it's not on the
It's
agenda
not on the
tonight.
agenda.
This meeting was scheduled and posted at noon Thursday. It could not be amended, it is not amended. The board can post a meeting tonight to have a meeting Wednesday night at 7:45 if we posted it right now. Oh, the clerk's office is closed, sorry. It's a 48-hour minimum posting requirement under the open meeting law.
Okay,
That's
so
the whole
we know.
story.
So
And most of the people who are very upset tonight about the board not addressing it, that's the reason why they can't and won't address it. It's called the open meeting law, and this board has been pummeled by the open meeting law complainers in this town. Yes.
So in response to that, can they tonight decide when is as soon as they can have a meeting?
They can discuss
And-
something, they can't decide
And
anything.
do it, and
Do new
they
business.
can't plan a meeting tonight? They can't schedule a meeting for themselves tonight?
Yes, they can schedule a meeting.
The meeting to set the date is what I'm asking for.
They can do that.
Yes.
I guess I'm just confused, because if the board can't discuss the ramifications and the solutions because of the open meeting law, then why are we discussing sending a letter to the school district about $25,000?
It was on the agenda
Excuse
on
me,
Thursday.
Can I finish my question?
Yes, yes, sir.
And the chief had a very real concern about his people, and we can't address the chief's concern, but we can address a snow plowing issue that'll probably happen in October and November. It seems like we're splitting hairs about what we choose to discuss.
Well, I want to get, that's one issue that I wanted to get out there as soon as possible. Because if someone decides to go out for a bid, the longer you wait, and this is late in the season for snow plowing bids. But that's the worst case scenario, and I thought they should be aware of it. And that is one item that you can foresee, that if a budget cut happens, you know, that's the thing that would affect the school rather significantly. The buses getting in there, the fire department getting in there, they have to get down the road before they can get into the parking lot. It's an attempt to begin communicating with the school district, which I believe has been lacking a good part of this year, for whatever reason. I believe that's how we got in the whole mess of the town meeting to start with, because budget talks, the school and the selectman's office and others didn't get together in December of 12. Nobody took the step. That's gone and passed. All we can do now is work to improve it and see how we're going to address this. And I believe that this was one thing to begin. And I have every department head coming in here, and they're looking out for their own territory. Well, I gotta have all my men because I gotta have my budget. I gotta have all my guys because I gotta have my budget. They want to complete the status quo. But I did not see one department head coming in here to the Board of Selectmen. Can we be on the agenda so I can discuss my department? Can we have a department head meeting? Everybody looks to the selectmen to say, you didn't do this, you didn't do this, you didn't do this.
I asked for a department head meeting.
But I have not had my, door knocked down requesting to come before the board. This is all just, it's over the bridge. The vote happened Thursday night. The school committee now has to certify that number. So we officially have a number to work with. Because that vote Thursday night did away with the old certified budget. And like I said, we all knew what the number is going forward, but it's not official until our treasurer certifies it and lets us know what it is. We have a number to start with. Now we know officially, we can tell the people what we're looking for, the number you have to come up with, one way or another. And that's the process. I wish it could be quicker. I mean, I wish we could just, call, take a loan out or something and be done with it, but it's not. It's just a start of communicating with the school committee and the district. It's one thing, and then there's going to be, like Ray said, there's going to be other things going down the road. It just mushrooms out of control real quick.
This is just a room issue. I'm very warm, I don't know about the other people. Would opening windows or doors help alleviate some of that? Because this isn't doing it.
Can they open the door? You guys open it? Can you open that
I guess it does.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
After looking and being informed that the advisory board is going to meet on September 4th, correct? They've been working with the budget and the figures for a very long time. I think it would be prudent for the Board of Selectmen to wait until after the advisory board meets, so we know what the implications are, and we have facts and figures. Right now, we don't. We have emotion. That's what you're running off of. Everybody's worried because they're gonna lose their job, or lose their position, or lose their, ability to get to school and to work. And I understand that. That's always been a major concern of mine, as far as the budget goes. I think it would be wise to wait until the advisory board has their meetings, can have a discussion, and come forward to the Board of Selectmen. We have a meeting on the 9th with recommendations on how to proceed. It's not that much time, but it gives time for cooler heads to prevail. We don't have good options. It's probably not going to be a wonderful plan. It's hard to make a good plan out of bad options, but those are the options we're left with.
Yes, Ken.
Something I do want to say is I do want to apologize as well. This is kind of a similar situation. I see it as, we knew that this vote was, at least I knew that this vote was coming on Thursday. There was going to be some kind of result. I think an agenda item on here just to give people the opportunity to voice their concerns may have been prudent, and I'm not blaming anyone because I didn't suggest it. I didn't think of it, so I would like to apologize for that not being on the agenda. And I understand as well. I know that no one up here's job is on the line because of this budget. I mean, because we don't make anything, so it wouldn't help to cut us, even though you might want to. Yeah, right. So none of our, but I really do believe that everyone on the board is concerned, for all the department heads out there, is concerned with everyone's jobs here, and will work. We may raise our voices at times, but we'll I believe, do our best to try to maintain as many possible jobs as we can, and do that in the best way possible. And we will listen to suggestions from all sources. At least I know I will, and I'm sure everyone else will, from the advisory board and everyone else, to try to resolve this issue in as calm and cool. And people's livelihoods are on the line, I know. So people are going to get emotional and worked up about it. But I will personally, and I'm sure the rest of the board will, do what they can to try to remain calm and cool and do what we can to save every job that we can.
Chief, you ready now?
All due respect, Mr. Chairman, 3 of your top department heads were in Mr. Ritter's office this morning. The fire chief, Bud Chase, and myself, and we all talked about department head meetings. The longer we delay this problem, the deeper the cuts are going to be, and the worse it's going to hurt the town. Not just the employees, but the town itself. We should be talking about the public safety of our community, plowing our own roads, not the schools' parking lots.
I am aware that you came in this morning. My point was that this should have been talked about before we even got to May, before that happened.
Well, again, you didn't even bother putting new business on the agenda tonight.
But, so your meeting Wednesday, the advisory board is meeting on the 4th. We could, and keep our meeting on September 9th. We could also meet on the 5th to present, allow the advisory board to present the results of their findings. Or the board could attend your meeting to be aware of the facts, of the figures and so forth, and your recommendations, and put that on the 9th. My thought is, well, it doesn't matter if the clerk's office isn't open.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, my preference would be to give us some time to, after that meeting, to draw up our conclusions, and we would end up being very happy to come on the 9th to present as much detail as we can as to what our discussion was, and actually talk in a dollar sense. We're actually, the intention of the chair right here is to end up actually talking to a dollar amount in each of the categories and actually talk to that level as to what it would cost us to bring each of the things up, step raises, et cetera, and actually have us have some level of cost analysis.
So you'd be dissecting, say, $1 million amount, because I personally feel that's an override number there.
That would be, that would, right now, that would be my absolute minimum. I was thinking initially, because of everything that has transpired in the past, it'd probably be more towards $1.5 million, somewhere between $1.5 million and $1.5 million.
Well,
Do I like that? No.
No.
But we will also have discussions on lesser amounts and other options that we can end up doing as a community and as a step process.
I know, like I said, the $1 million figure that I'm stuck on is $551 for a school. The amount of money to reinstate the money that was lost in 12, and I believe it's around about 200,000 right now, that would bring the people a step raise. And this has been discussed for a couple of years at the personnel board level. And I believe at the time when Rayanne and I were on it, I think a year or so ago, it was 140,000 was needed to put the teeth in that plan that laid out the step increases. So by now, I would suggest it's probably around 200,000. And my thoughts within that $1 million would be the school put back the wages, money that was lost by the people when the cuts were done, when the hours were reduced, increase step raise of, and I'm just using an approximate of a couple hundred, and any leftover of that million, either divide it between a stabilization fund and a capital stabilization, or funnel it to one or the other, because we desperately need both. This is not a want, this is a need, and the town that most people suggest that they care so much about, and I'm not saying this is not going to be easy and it's not going to be painful, because it is. And I listen to someone who gives me their peace of mind on the tax rate almost a daily basis. That's my 80-year-old mother.
Mr. Chairman,
So
just so
that's the number that I would hope that if you dissect that,
Yep.
and then if, I don't know what your plans are, but I would.
I'd like to
I would
rise to
ask-
the point of order.
Yes,
This gentleman here has spoken several times. The other people are waiting. I should think we would take turns.
we will, thank you. So, an override, combination of an override and budget cuts, and just the hard choice, 20% across the board. It won't be easy and it won't be pain-free, but it's something that we're gonna have to look at. Mr. Dennis?
There's two things that concerns me this evening. It's almost like Templeton is in a cocoon. I keep hearing about the law. We can't do this or we can't do that because of the open meeting law. I read the newspaper. I see where other communities have forums where they inform the general public and have general discussion. I guess we can't have those in this town. I mentioned that before. And before we went into the town meeting, I urged the Board of Selectmen to have such a thing so that the general public would have more knowledge on what the town of Templeton was thinking about if the school got what they wanted at the joint town meeting. Nothing happened. We were in the dark. We didn't have Plan B. We didn't even have Plan A. And that bothers me because it sounds tonight that there's no attempt to have such a thing. The Finance Committee or the Advisory Board is going to make all these determinations. My second point I would like to point out, in due respect to the Finance Committee, they work hard with all the great intentions in the world. But I like to remind the Board of Selectmen, it's an appointed board. When we go to vote, we elect you, the Board of Selectmen, to represent us and to lead us. And here, you people seem to be having the Finance Committee lead the town. I think you people should lead the town.
So,
Seeing as we have three of the most important department heads here, to quote Chief Whitaker, could we? Todd, okay. I would like to request, and if you guys three are scheduled, and if Kate can send out an email, I would like a department heads meeting Thursday morning at 9 o'clock. That fit everybody's schedule? Chief, Bud?
Yep.
Where's Ellen? Did Ellen leave? Ellen left. Kate, if Kate could send out a meeting not to include, if you could you request your administrative assistant to send out, could we have, because I think, no disrespect to anybody, but I think the department heads need to come forward with their figures. And I think we need to, as department heads, we need to have a meeting.
Jim, is that applicable to you?
If you direct me to have a department head meeting, I'll have one. I'll ask you what the agenda's gonna be.
Oh, my.
I thought you were in charge.
I'll call a meeting.
Yes, Virginia.
I'm just a little confused and like Mr. Dennis, I have some problems with the finance board doing the work that I perceive the selectmen should be doing. It's very, as usual, Mr. Springer's coming through with lots of hard work and but we're the selectmen in this. And my second point is, I would like to know why the Board of Selectmen chose not to be in front of the meeting the other night at the auditorium, and why they refused to answer questions that were, when Mr. Hubbard said the Templeton Board of Selectmen like to say anything, nobody said anything on behalf of the people in Templeton.
And did.
Ken spoke for the school.
Yeah, and I will,
That's it.
yeah, I spoke as a citizen, obviously not on behalf of the board. But one thing, and I think I was the first one that suggested, from what I could tell, we just really wanted it to, we didn't want to take this, let me phrase this correctly so I don't misstate it. It was the school committee's meeting to be up there. So when the question came up, about when Mr. Hubbard had made, asked whether we would be sitting up there or not sitting up there, I think that at least I individually chose not to be sitting up there because I did not want the Board of Selectmen to be a distraction because it was a school committee meeting. Now the issue of whether, I didn't know we were going to be asked to speak, so we hadn't voted on any kind of joint stance on the school committee budget anyway. But the reason why I thought is I think that would be a distraction. I think that, especially in Templeton, some people, at least for me, some people have some strong views one way or another about me personally, or about some other people, that if we just stay out of it, so the school committee can really speak their piece, the questions can be directed at the school committee because that's who has the answers. That was my reason for sitting down.
But all of the other boards and committees were there. Do you understand how that looks for the people in Templeton, not being represented?
Well, I think the people, I would just say that I think that the people in Templeton were represented by the school committee that they elected to be there to lead that meeting. That's my take on it, and that's kind of, and I didn't know that for instance, I didn't know Phillipson was going to be up there, and even if I did, I still would have just thought that it would be best for us to sit down. We never took a vote on it, and I don't know if it's appropriate for the Board of Selectmen on the school committee's budget. I mean, the Board of Selectmen had their say when they were on the subcommittee to, have their 2 cents in when the budget was crafted. So, but that was why I personally. Other people may have had other reasons, but that was my reason for not being up there.
And it was, the Board of Selectmen were polled individually as if they wanted to sit on the stage or not. They chose not to. My thought is, as Ken said, it was a joint town meeting, it was not just a Templeton meeting. The Board of Selectmen worked for the people of Templeton. Now, if we get up there and if we speak, you should pass the budget, they've already said no multiple times. Sitting in the audience, I had a chance to speak with some people that just, you know, hey, what about this? I hope this gets over fast. Why are we talking about, you know, spending a length of time talking about this? We already know what we're here to do. It was a simple yes or no vote for this number, or a yes or no vote for a lower or higher number. Interestingly, I spoke with a couple of the Phillipston selectmen. One Phillipston selectman wanted to be up there, the others, they was gonna sit in the audience like as we did. I agree with Ken that I just did not think it's appropriate, a distraction. There was enough confusion, enough things going on already. There was a school committee up or down vote, it's a joint town meeting. I suppose we could have sat on the stage and looked all important and gave the impression that we're leading something, but the citizens of two towns were there for one question and one question only. And the school committee could answer their questions. The Phillipston Finance Board did not really answer in a group. One member, she spoke a couple of times. And when Mr. Hubbard asked if the selectmen, he knew we're there, if we had anything to say, I personally did not have anything to say. And I personally did not think that if I stood up there and said anything, it was going to swing a vote one way or another. Because the majority of people pretty much knew how they were going to vote when they walked in the door. It was going to be yes or no for that number, or yes or no for a lower number. The time was, I just do not think that the Board of Selectmen sitting on the stage was going to make a difference one way or another.
Sitting on the stage, maybe not, but speaking for the town might have been another whole issue.
If we got up there and spoke against it and we convinced a number of people to vote against it and they voted no, we would just drag this out. It was time for the people to make a decision without influence from outside entities. That's my personal feeling on it. And again, the board members were polled. If they said they wanted to sit on the stage, I would sit on the stage. The board members chose to sit in the audience because one question, it's not just the Templeton meeting. You had Phillipston people there already. I think it would add to more divisiveness. You know, if Phillipston speak for it, if Templeton Board of Selectmen speak against it, we both speak for it, you're not going to satisfy everybody, as usually happens.
I even changed, which I never do. I left work early so I could change and be in normal clothes, so I would not give the appearance of being official, just for that purpose.
Yeah, you look bummy, good job.
I succeeded.
Just ask one thing, and forgive me for not knowing this, but back a little bit earlier, you talked about having some communication between yourselves and the school committee, which is great, but I thought there was a subcommittee and that consisted of, you know, Mrs. Wilder. I don't know about anyone else, and forgive me, but what does she do with that information? Does she keep it to herself because you're on the subcommittee, or did she not bring it back to any of the board? Like, how does that happen? I think it's unfair in a way. What I've heard of this a couple of times, that did Mrs. Wilder keep that information to herself and not bring it back to the school committee, or how does that work?
Brought everything I had back to Mr. Ritter.
So even if you weren't having conversations, it was Mrs. Wilder's job to bring it back to someone to, so what kind of meetings would you have with our school committee? What more would you accomplish, I guess is what I'm asking. Because communication is great.
We would
We
do
agree
like
for
we
that.
did before Thursday, August 22nd, where a couple of selectmen, Mr. Ritter, Mr. Miller, a couple of people from the school committee met in a room, and we just talked, and we put numbers on the table, and Rob Hubbard was there. We discussed things like what would be allowed at the meeting, how off, topic we were going to be, the one question that was going to be asked, the numbers, and I think we actually started to have just a conversation where it wasn't us against them, it was just informal, where we could throw out ideas, personal ideas, realistic things, and kick things around. Well, what about this? you know, this number says this, no, my number says this. Well, here's, you know, off of this site, here's off the records, and
But there is
I
protocol,
think it was
correct? There is a
good.
protocol, correct?
for.
I mean, it's nice to have those conversations, but they're informal. So, I mean, and it's not us against them, because everyone's always said it's not us against them, but you're saying that.
It's
So I
not
would
the-
like it to not be
okay,
that way
so
anymore.
At that table, you're relaxed and you're just kicking things back and forth. And I thought it was productive. And it can lead to official type of stuff, but I think you get to know people better, and it's, you know, you're out of the limelight, and, you know, we could say things that might not get said at an open public meeting.
So you're
As far as
encouraging more
just-
of those kind of
More
meetings?
from laid-back type of meetings, and then it leads to, you know, a formal meeting where you can put things out. And
I think that's what Mr. Dennis speaks about then, about having some kind of quorum for that the townspeople to have some kind of information also, which
But they
is,
don't want it.
which is what,
And-
I guess I'm just trying to wrap all that together, and that's what, you know, Community Advocates for Dance of Greatness tried to do, or Mr. Dennis is talking about, or, you know, having some kind of quorum where people, instead of having to go over a meeting here, we could do something different. And again, Mrs. Wilder must have done her job in bringing things back to the board.
As Mr. Spring did also.
Right, I was only speaking because you're a
Right.
board member and.
Let me answer for the advisory board. I attended those meetings at an open public meeting with nobody in attendance, and I fault all the community for that. I brought that to my board. My board ended up at that particular time going over what I brought back, and that's why I came back to that budget subcommittee with our recommendation to go more towards a level fund. We had an open discussion. I fault the actual public for not attending board meetings, they can find out what's going on.
Right, I don't disagree.
So we had a process in place. I brought that information, it didn't happen the way we suggested it. We ended up looking at the budget at least 3 times. In fact, on the record, we actually had a discussion with Mrs. Miller before that meeting on Thursday, where we actually talked about line items in detail. That's how we came up to our conclusion as to how we were going to address the budget.
I'm not arguing about the
No, but
budget.
I'm
I'm
saying-
talking about but the board did have information about what goes on at the
Right.
school committee meeting. It's really,
Right,
I'm not
and-
even arguing, I'm just asking
No,
that
but I'm saying
process.
that's the process that we use to take it, end up
Right.
going through, so you understand
Yep.
that we actually have a process in
And- yeah.
place. That's the important part.
All right, yes.
I was just gonna say, I think the confusion was, you have said a few times now that communication between the school committee and the selectmen hasn't been very good. When I think what we were trying, I'm like, well, that's what the budget subcommittee is about. You actually have a selectman on it. So it's not that communication hasn't been good, because it's there. I mean, anyone can go to a school committee meeting. I knew what was going on long before tonight. That's all I think. You have said that the communication hasn't been very good, but when it comes to the actual school budget, everyone knew what it was months ago. And that started, how long ago did the budget subcommittee start?
In February.
A long time ago.
Okay, thank you.
Marianne, Wednesday night, what time is that meeting?
6:30 or 7? 6:30. 6:30.
At
Kiva.
the Kiva. Because that's another thing that, sometimes the meeting postings get posted here and people look here.
In
In the
that
future,
line, I've asked repeatedly of the superintendent, and I've then talked to her secretary. She says that they are sent to the town clerk. They're posted, our meeting dates are posted on our website. We
I
can
know
vote
that.
that. But then we always call it in to be posted
To the town clerk.
to the town, so that they
It's on
should
that
be well
little-
aware of when our meetings are, it's not just our site.
So maybe on the town website.
It is on the town website. We report it to the clerk, and I'm sure she's putting it there.
No, actually, the
No.
Board of Selectmen received
not
a
there.
letter from the superintendent of schools informing us that the official posting place for the school committee meetings and agendas was only going to be on your website.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
word
Official.
That word official
That's what we
is, excuse me,
hasn't
Mrs.
been.
Farrell, I'm trying to answer you.
Right,
The word official
yes.
is our official site.
Mhm.
We know that it is sent to the town so that it can be posted. It's not officially, but it is posted so you know when our meetings are.
I think the thing is, I'm not sure if it comes from the clerk's office to here to be put on the website, but that's something that can be rectified.
However, it was
where
supposed to be
you-
sent.
But-
We can
and I
clarify
know
that
it
if it's
is-
not getting here.
Yeah, it's in the open meeting law guide specifically does state that the school committees can be put, is their, school districts or
Correct,
schools'
we did.
website.
Yes.
But just because that's official, like the town's is official
Correct.
at the town clerk's office, it can be posted, the school board, it can be posted anywhere, but it does have to be posted at one place.
That's right.
But we can rectify that on the town's website, so it's available in many locations.
Thank you.
That doesn't guarantee that people will show up, unfortunately, but
Right.
because sometimes you have these meetings and planning board, 2 people. I've been to school committee meetings where there was 20, 30 people, and then others, not so much.
Our meetings are scheduled for the third Wednesday of the month.
And that's a good thing to just put out there,
Yeah.
maybe as a continued posting.
Unless it's a vacation, but I'm pretty sure most of them are the third Wednesday. Yep. There's one in Phillipston we just had, and then in January there'll be another one held in Phillipston because it's
Yeah, that's a rotate, well, every
Right.
few months. or
twice a
whatever
year
it
we
is.
have to meet in Phillipston.
That's a requirement. So Wednesday you meet, Thursday we will have official, you will meet on the 4th. And
We will come with our recommendation. It's up to the board that they can decide what course of action when we make our recommendation.
And so we will stick to our September 9th meeting.
So plans in hand.
Yes.
Looking at the way different meetings are falling out, if we meet on September 9th, we should be prepared to set a date for an override.
And the town clerk sent 2 options today, as far as timelines
Right,
to meet.
Okay.
If you like called it tomorrow, would be 35 days from then. If we do it on the 9th, it would be 35 days. And I believe that's for a ballot election, and then the special town meeting is the fall. But she did send the timelines over, so that we would have them. Yes?
If you have a ballot election, will you also be having an election to fill the seat, the vacant seat on your board at that time?
We can put that on.
well, no, wait a minute.
There's a thing that we have to look at, because there's several requirements.
Yeah, if we just do an override on the ballot, it's 35 days. If we try to fill the vacancy, it's 65 days.
So we'll be almost.
Because you have to do nomination papers and people have to
So
take
we'll
out their
get the tax
papers and
bills
turn
out
them
in
in.
time.
So
And then
it
we'd almost be to December.
almost doubles the
Are you
length.
planning to fill that seat? No?
Yeah, time-wise, it doesn't look like it. We certainly don't have a lot of money to be having elections. I don't know what our options are.
September 9th? Yes.
Just a point for consideration, could you run the 2 dates concurrent? Post go for your override, and perhaps your override passes and everybody's all happy, perhaps it fails, now we've got to go to a town meeting. Post your override, run your town meeting, post in concurrent, and next week we have a town meeting if we need it. If we don't,
You can always cancel.
cancel it.
You have,
But if you're gonna save some time, and saving time is saving money.
An override is a ballot and a special town meeting.
Right.
We can certainly put the articles on the town meeting, this, or this, or this, and put them in the order, because you can always just, pass it over. Pass it over. If override passes, then you go to town meeting, you put the override, first, then you put, an override and a budget cuts, and then total budget cuts in, because you can always pass over things, you just can't add it on the spot. But yeah, that's, it can be nuts to schedule 3 special town meetings. So I would just ask the school committee if it's possible, like, I know the letter may take, several days to get here, but if we need an email just of the vote, just so we have.
We'll try to have the letter to you Thursday morning.
Yes, our
Okay.
treasurer is in district, so she can authorize that and make that a priority, so please have it.
Okay, because like I said, I know everybody, we know the number and stuff, but until we have that,
Yeah.
we can't do anything. It's that's the rules that they have. Just like the 30-day thing, you can't act until you actually have it officially on paper. And that's a quick meeting on their part. So, the last thing that was added, and I watched the Gardner City Council meetings, and that's what I do in my fun time. They have an interesting thing at the end of the meeting. They ask each city councilor if they have any comments or anything, and sometimes councilors pass. Sometimes they say, well, the finance committee is working on this. Ms. So-and-so appreciates the sidewalk work. So-and-so would like to know, why this is looking like this at the fire station. And just any comments. Sometimes they have things, sometimes you have nothing. And I just thought it was worth a try, in case any selectmen have anything, and it can be anything, to comment on, in a couple of minutes. Something they saw, maybe at the craft fair worked, this, that, maybe you have nothing. But if you do, it's just an opportunity for the selectmen to comment on anything, outstanding job by an employee, a department, a suggestion, whatever. And I just thought it was worth a try. So, Ms. Farrell, you first.
I do.
All I would ask is that we don't get into a lengthy discussion about things. It's just, it's meant to be,
Comment.
a few comments, not votes, not, back and forth. We'll do enough of that in this town.
Will this be a part of your agenda every meeting now?
I want to try and see how it works.
Thank you.
Just try something. Maybe it will work, maybe it's the biggest disaster I ever tried.
We're gonna find out.
Yes.
I don't know.
I just want to know, in future meetings, are you going to leave off old and new business?
It kind of depends on what's happening. Sometimes new business, it leads to a discussion about nothing for 30 minutes. I know once in a while, good things come out of it. And sometimes we sit here and it seems like we argue about things that we don't get anywhere.
That's where the chairman can step in and cut it short, but I think it at least should be old business on there anyway. My own personal opinion.
Sorry, just real quickly, actually our lawyer had cautioned us and said that a lot of select boards have removed new business or those categories from their agendas because we legally, as we discussed the open meeting law, can't take votes or action because if old business could be anything. So if people didn't know that we were going to be discussing something, we can't then vote and authorize. So again, just because we have already been in the last couple of months received a couple of meeting law complaints, we're trying to do everything that we can to comply with the letter of the law. So that's one of the reasons why it's been removed. And this would be a good opportunity, as we've done before, if selectmen did have agenda items they would like to add to next, that they could bring it up to
It would be
discuss.
nice, for explanation, because in the past, it's always been, had.
It's always had on Yes.
I would like to apologize for some comments that I posted to the blog. In my opinion, the yes vote at the joint town meeting on August 22nd is a major indication that the political and legal system is seriously flawed. I believe it is also broken. It should not be legal to overturn a no vote at the ballot on April 30th. A vote at the annual town meeting was no unless the override passed. Another no vote at the ballot on June 25th, and an additional no vote at the special town meeting on July 26th. The question has arisen, how many times do the voters have to say no? Is it legal to turn multiple no's into yes? It is. A system where it is legal to overturn 4 no votes into a yes is a broken system. The ramifications of the yes vote at the joint town meeting will affect every resident and most employees in the town of Templeton. There are over 8,000 inhabitants in the town of Templeton who are at risk of losing critical aspects of public safety. Our employees face more uncertainty regarding their jobs and their hours. With some notable exceptions, Templeton's employees are grossly underpaid as it is. When I suggested freezing salaries of the school department, people were appalled. They were outraged. Where is the outrage when town employees' salaries and hours are cut? Where is that outrage? The impact of the yes vote will be felt for years to come. This vote comes at a time when the town was finally making some progress in addressing the wrongdoings that have contributed to the financial crises that this town is facing. These financial wrongdoings include but are not limited to the 4 issues outlined in the investigation by the Attorney General. Senate number 623. An investigation into the activities, actions of legal counsel Copman and Page regarding the wastewater treatment plant and the writs of attachment. The cost of the treatment plant downsizing, lagoon closure, and landfill from Irving Paper Mills, the original signatory, were shifted to the taxpayers and ratepayers in Templeton, conservatively estimated at $10 to $15 million. An investigation into the procedures and activities to allow the settlement and return of a gift of $369,681 to Casella Waste Systems on November 13, 2008. The Board of Selectmen at that time voted to return this significant sum of money that was given to the town as a gift without a town meeting vote. That is a loss of an additional $369,000. An investigation into the activities of the Municipal Building Committee to include the transactions regarding the purchase of Ballinville Road, 252 Ballinville Road. The town overpaid for a building $400,000, and $300,000 was put into the project before it was stopped.
Excuse me.
Yes, I'm getting to the apology.
Okay. I would appreciate if you just get to the apology, please.
All right. I'm apologizing for my poor choice of words posted as a comment on Polly's Templeton Watch. My intention was not to reopen wounds or cause anyone pain. My poor choice of words was an extreme response to the vote at the joint town meeting. I feel it was appropriate to apologize in person, in public, at this meeting. I thank the chairman for this opportunity to apologize. My words were an extreme reaction to what I perceive as yet another assault in a long line of assaults on the financial solvency of the town of Templeton. The system is broken. The override is a short-term solution, which does not address larger issues. When a town can only raise taxes 2.5% and school district requests exceed that 2.5%, the funding gap will never be resolved.
Okay. That is an apology for some words that, the analogy was correct, the wording was probably inappropriate in this day and time.
Very inappropriate.
So, Mr. Morrison. Excuse me, please.
There's a monkey suit, calling a monkey, that's a
Excuse me,
slang
Peter,
too.
please.
That's a slang too.
All right,
Somebody else
please,
should apologize.
enough. We need less of that. Doug?
Yeah, my only comments would be, that I just wish we hadn't gotten ourselves into the situation of really needing this override now. Like you said, it's not a want, it's a need. We need it now. And I'm afraid it is going to only be a short-term solution. Yes, it'll get us over the hump, but a year from now, are we going to be in the same situation where, other departments need more money, but we can only raise our taxes a little bit, so we can't, continually fund this huge growth of expense with very little income. So we've got to focus on, how do we come out of this for the long term?
Thank you. Mr. Robinson?
I did not plan this, but it worked out well. I have a requested agenda item for the next Templeton Board of Selectmen meeting, and I brought copies. You can truncate it however you see fit, and I brought some extra copies. The agenda item that I would like added to the next Templeton Board of Selectmen meeting is discussion on possible authorization of open for business letter to be sent by Board of Selectmen to responsible sources of economic development. I know, and I'll try to make this quick, it's been a long meeting, but I think this is important so we can stop arguing about being broke all the time. There are some facts that are not going to change. For people on fixed incomes, their incomes are not going up no matter how good the economy gets. That's why they're called fixed incomes. Schools will continue to have unfunded mandates, at least in the near future, from the federal and state government. That's not going anywhere, and that is outside of our control. We can write letters to our representatives, but as a town, we have no control over unfunded mandates from the state and federal governments. Thirdly, it is unlikely that the schools will be bound by a Proposition 2.5 style limitation on their budget because it pulls in the Federal Department of Education. That's outside of our control as well. What is under our control is how much positive, responsible business that we have in the town of Templeton to reduce the tax burden on our seniors, everyone, so that when it is time that we need $1.5 million override to bring people back, we can do it because we're not all broke from having to shoulder the entire tax burden as residents, which is really kind of unfounded that with such little business in this town. I'm not talking about steel mills, more paper mills. I'm talking about businesses that are commercial-based, sorry, I'm talking fast, commercial-based, and also consumer-based that will not cause pollution that we have to deal with for 20 years. I'm talking about a grocery store. I know there's a million of them, but there's certain grocery stores that there are none. Whole Foods, and what's the other one that Julie likes better than Trader Joe's? There we go, Trader Joe's. And there's none. There's none in this whole area. It would attract people from all over. We might not have the demographics, but there's none up here. I'm talking about maybe a Target or a distribution warehouse for like a Walmart. Do you know Walmart ships all of its goods past Templeton to Maine to store them to then ship them back to Gardner to put in the stores, right? We have, so anyway, so sorry, an open for business letter is just a simple letter on Town of Templeton overhead. That is letterhead, and it's a good start. And all it would say, 1 to 2 pages, that says Templeton has one of the lowest tax rates, not only in the county but in the state. Businesses should be begging to come to Templeton. We are prime located. Athol, you have to drive 15 minutes off